you're about your busy schedule, and the Bible tells us that we're to be about the Father's business, amen, and that we are to occupy till He come, which means that we need to work, you need to plan. I mean, yes, Jesus could come tonight, but we still need to plan for next week, okay? And there's nothing wrong with that. It's godly, it's right, and it's required of us. But at the same time, none of us know when we're going to die. We're going to plan like we're going to live for a while, but we got to also plan like we could die tonight. Hello? You know what I'm saying? Now, with all this in mind, I want to give you a passage that we started touching on a little bit this morning. In Luke chapter 21, Jesus is giving some indicators when the disciples had asked him what would be signs, indications that would tell us your coming is soon. And there's several, and we're just going to really literally skip all of them. But I want you to get to this, the meat of what he says here in verse 28. He says, and when these things, the things that he had just said that were going to be signs, indicators, he says, when these things begin to come to pass, when you watch these things start to happen, then look up. Notice the direction. Don't look down. It's not a time to get scared. It's not a time to get intimidated. You need to look up and lift up your heads because your redemption is coming to the full extent. Your redemption is drawing near. And then it skips down to verse 31 after he gives the parable of the tree. He says, you look at the fig tree or all the trees. When it starts to blossom, then you know summer's near. It's just like right now when the trees are starting to change color, you know winter's near. We're going from one season into the next. We're coming into fall, but we're heading to into winter. And he says, in the same sense, when you see these things, listen to what he says, likewise also, when ye see these things come to pass. Notice again, in both of those verses you see up there is the references to using your eyes. You need to look and you need to see. You and I have some things that the Lord has given us in His precious Word that you can watch for and that you need to be watching for. Now, I'm sure there's some of you here that are new in your walk with Jesus, and you really are not very fluent in your knowledge of prophecy or the Bible. And I pray to God that tonight's message will help spur your desire to get into the Word. Folks, literally, we waste our life with the stupidness of Hollywood and all it's got to offer. When God has set before us, no matter what you're into, He has given us a Word that will keep us on the end of our seats if we commit ourselves to it. And that book has told us things to be watching for. And what I want to do tonight is to help challenge you with a thought along this line. If you really want to see how close we are to the end, if you want to see how fast time is running by, you're keeping your eye on something, you keep your eye on your watch. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to keep an eye on Iran. Iran, believe it or not, is talked about multiple times in the Bible. It is no coincidence that at the point in history that we live, suddenly Iran is now in the forefront of our thinking. And as I mentioned this morning, it's almost like we're forced into it. It's almost as if God is making us pay attention. Now, you say, I can't remember reading Iran in the Bible. Well, that's because Iran changed its name about 73 years ago. Changed its name to Persia. It is now called the Islamic Republic of Iran from Persia. I said it was changed to Persia. That's what it's known in the Bible. For thousands of years it's been called Persia. However, today when you take the time, you understand that Iran is a huge player in the last day scenario of things. So that's why you need to keep an eye on it. You just need to be aware throughout your day, when you're listening to news every once in a while, listen to what's said about Iran. Every once in a while, just pay attention to what's going on with Ahmadinejad. Just listen, because it's going to have a pivotal issue in our day. By the way, Iran has over 70 million people. It's 3 times larger than Babylon. You say, I can't remember too much about that because Iraq, obviously is Babylon. Iran is one of the largest, one of the oldest world civilization. It is literally where we all came from. And you can trace back time in mankind 6,000 years, and it goes right back to this area. Now, this is quite interesting because there's a lot of extreme reasons why this is a significant part of the globe. Now, stick with me. I know this is kind of slow right now. It's going to get good in a second. But here's the thing. It is a part of the northern rim of the Persian Gulf. Everybody ever heard of the Persian Gulf? This is where, obviously, the world's largest source of crude oil is found. Now, why this is so critical is because Iran has 32 producing oil fields, 25 of them onshore, 7 offshore. Its gross revenue among oil is $150 million per day. Okay? So we're talking some big hitters when it comes to oil. Now, there's a non-Christian book out that's very, very, if you really want to study Iran, this would be a good one to pick up. And it's called Confronting Iran. I want you to listen to what he says in the book. He says, Iran possesses the second largest reserve of oil in the world, larger than those of Iraq and second only to those of Saudi Arabia. Now, in case you're not aware of this, now listen to these little facts for a second. 98% of all energy used for road, for rail, for ocean, for air transportation is provided by oil products. In other words, the reason why you have not just toothpaste is petroleum-based, but the reason why you get toothpaste in your house is because a truck delivered to the grocery store, which you drove your car to go to the grocery store to pick it up, it's all based on oil. Everything is connected somehow. The reason why you got here tonight is because of oil. Most likely you drove or rode with somebody who drove a vehicle that had gasoline in it and got you here. Okay, well, that's 98% of all means of transportation comes from this. All right? The United States, now listen to this, has only 2% of oil reserves, and yet it consumes 25% of the world's annual production. Now, that's pretty incredible. So automatically, how many know right now that's putting us in a very volatile position? Now, obviously with the elections coming up, this has been thrown back and forth. It's the hot potato. But there are 192 countries in the world. Nearly all of them are 100% dependent upon oil. Now think about this. There's only 30 countries that produce oil of any significant quality. So guess where most of the oil comes from? Okay? Now you think this took God by surprise? The fact is, most of it comes from the sands of the Middle East, mostly from the very nations that are enemies of Israel and of the United States. How many know what I just told you is the truth? Now that by itself right there should make you understand why Iran is important to us. Okay? But here is the point I want you to think. Do you think, honest to God, do you think in the scheme of things that this has taken God by surprise, that America is dependent, Israel, and all the rest, we are friends with, we have become the enemies of these oil-producing countries. Do you think that just happened to turn out to be that way? Or do you think there might be a bigger picture in all this? Okay, well hold on, because this is interesting. In 2006, the world crossed a milestone in its daily use of oil, using 86 million barrels of oil a day. That translates to 1,000 barrels of oil every second. Okay? So, how many can tell that oil is truly a crucial issue of our day? Okay, so we feel a little relieved right now because gas prices have gone down, but this is nothing. It's always going to play that kind of game. The fact is, this is the issue, and it will be the issue for the rest of our lifetime.